Hello and welcome back to Cali Roost to Tennessee Boots. Today I'm going to be harvesting the onions that I've been waiting for months since I planted them last November. It's time to pull them up so that I can put them away in storage before we leave for Tennessee in under 2 weeks. A little note, some of you are here recently and appreciate you subscribing to the channel. And you subscribed because you saw the link between my tribute to Midlife Stockman. And I really appreciate everyone's response. I did do it because I really like the channel and I like the man. I think he does a fantastic job and he's nearly tireless. So I just wanted to kind of compliment him with that, and to my amazement he did get to see it, so that's really cool. Now, I've done a second one. I don't plan to do that on a regular basis, so if you subscribe to my channel for that, you won't see much more of that kind of thing. While I'd be happy to do more, I think that's his genre. Again, it was a tribute for him, and I tried my best and had a lot of issues getting it done between video and equipment and so on, but it was fun to do. And if you enjoy gardening and fix-it things and so on, you might find my channel interesting. But if not, you won't hurt my heart if you unsubscribe. I simply wasn't prepared for what response I was going to get from that video, and it's fun to see and reply to all the comments, but I'm not going to be doing that on a regular basis. That is Sean's deal, and he's going to keep that. I have thought about doing something in the future. I probably will, but I don't know how long that'll be. But it'll be interesting, and I think everybody will like it. I got a suggestion from one of the new subscribers, and I thought that was a really good idea. So I'm not going to let that out right now out of the bag, but sometime soon I will. But today it's all about my onions. I grow onions because I love to eat onions and they're fun to grow. And it does take a long time, and it takes persistence, and it's one crop that you're never guaranteed the same thing every year. It is really up to the weather, how well your starts do, because I plant all my things by seed, which is really the way to go, and how much they get watered, how much rain you get, if you have to water more for municipal water, which our municipal water is chlorinated like pretty much 99% of all cities in the US. And so that it does slow down their growth a bit. And so there's a lot of variables. Also, if you regularly fertilize them, if you don't over fertilize them. I did a couple of times put a little too much, and when they were younger, and the upper first young growth kind of just flopped. It dried to the ground, and then new shoots came up, and it is a nitrogen lover, and takes a lot to kill them. But one thing that will for sure is not enough water, and planting them at the wrong time of year. You really need to get them started in my area, Zone 9B in Central California. You need to get them in sometime in November. I've experimented with a little sooner, a little later, and I don't get the same results. So kind of stick with the plan, although the weather lately has been kind of strange. It's a very windy day here on Saturday, and let's see, today's this May 17th, and we've had a cool down with a lot of wind today, and I welcome it because we were having getting into the 90s, and we'll be soon regularly being in the 90s and hundreds. So I'm not looking forward to that. When we go to Tennessee, we should be beginning in the 90s, and we'll see if we have a little cool down over there. Last year we did. So anyway, let's get on with this. That is a really nice one. That's a nice one. Look at those babies. Sweet. I gotta say, these are the nicest quality of red onions that I've ever grown overall. I have grown some this big that were red burgundy, but as far as having this many this size, this is the first time. These are beautiful. I've got a few little babies. But look at that. That's not a Burger Master. I don't know what it is. Look at that thing in my hand. Now these are varieties called Chianti. My first time trying Chianti, and it was on the suggestion from Lazy Dog Farms, and appreciate his channel. He's in South Georgia, and they have similar zone, USDA zone, as we do. So they're short day onions, and they're a hybrid. So I thought I'd try them. In fact, all the onions in this plot that I grew were suggestions from his channel. And these ones and the Georgia Boys, which were yellow, did excellent. And the DP Sweet and Timon, not as well. And I think part of it was they just didn't have enough sun. This, I don't have an ideal growing location in this yard. We planted big trees to cover our backyard on purpose when my son was young, actually before he was born. And we wanted it to shade the backyard so we could still play in the backyard in the summer. And it has worked out very well. But it does limit your growing space because pretty much all edible things want full sun. Without full sun, you're not going to get the performance that you want from your onions, amongst many other things. Wow, look at that. That's beautiful. And they're going to be tasty. I got to remember to get video of my first burger with a big slice. I have one of these big ones. And I want you to see how close together these have grown. These are just about touching, and these were planted 8 inches apart. So I kind of was hoping and expecting to have larger onions, and sure enough, these were quite large. By giving them a little extra space, because many of them are planted between 4 and 6 inches apart. These again, 8. And I think if these were planted any closer, they would have been running and pushing into each other. Look at those roots. Hard to believe I had grass just growing here last year. But with a lot of supplementing and fertilizer and regular water, it turned into a pretty decent growing plot. Pretty nice. And that is it for these Chiantis. As you can see, it has pretty much filled the garden cart. Look at these sweet stacks of red onions, huh? Can't beat that. So I'll be stacking them here on this tailgate to process them. But before I process them, I'll be picking the red burgundies. I want to point out something. This big old shaft here, this would have been the bloom stalk, which I had broken off in its earlier period. It still ended up putting most of its energy to putting out that bloom stalk. But this is what's left of it. I'm going to break it open so you can see. It's just hollow on the inside. And it never did put a bloom shoot, or a bloom pod, I guess. But puny little onion, and it probably won't last very long either. It'll still taste good. We had a heat spell that reached 88 early in the season, and then it cooled right back down to the 60s. Well, when it does that, it confuses them. They think they need to go in seed mode, so they start putting out seed pods, and that happened this year. I'm thankful that these Chiantis, while they did shoot not a few, probably a third of them shot out bloom shoots because of that, but they continued on growing, getting big. So the majority of these, as you can see, are nice size, and I'm really happy with these. It's my personal challenge to grow the biggest onions I can grow. Be interesting to see what I'll be able to grow in Tennessee, but if I can grow ones this big or bigger, I'll be happy. Now over there, I could grow these short day onions as well as intermediate day onions. I believe it's zone 7B there. But ultimately, there are kind of a lot of zones where the temperatures vary in Tennessee, so it really depends on the area you're in. If you're higher elevation, in a flat area, and I have no idea what it's going to be like where our home is going to be. Whatever it is, we'll adapt. And your two little babies. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. So there we have our crop of Chianti red onions. And next up is the red burgundy. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Come on. Come on. Come on, guys. Come on. We're going to corral the doggies out of the way. Come on, guys. Yeah, come on, Otis. Otisy. Come here. Come on, Otis. Come on, Otis. Come on. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Here you go. Come on. Come on, guys. Come on. Ciao, guys. All right, these are red burgundies. This is my east garden. These are quite ready to be pulled. This is a little flatter of an onion, and these are not as big. Now, some years they've gotten as big or bigger than some of those Chiantis, but because these are non-hybrid, you never know what you're going to get. They're more susceptible to disease, which I've not really had disease, but they're also more susceptible to weather changes and water and so on, crowding. Now, I've kept these, the weed population pretty low. And I haven't let weeds go to seed predominantly in this section of the garden. And in a while, so there's not that much weed pressure. That's what we got here. Boy, those magnets on the microphone are really strong. Oh. For those of you who don't know, these DJI microphones have a strong magnet that you can use. You put a backing behind your shirt. If you don't have a pocket or a lower neck to connect to, you just stick it inside your shirt and it will hold your mic on through the material of your shirt. Pretty nice, but they are super strong. There's a pretty nice one there. Filling up my wagon. Okay, we're on the home stretch. Last 4 onions. I don't know about you, but I think that is a pretty successful batch of onions. It has fully filled, overflowing this big garden cart. That is quite a batch of onions. Definitely my biggest harvest of red burgundies. So let's go put them in the prep area. This is quite a load. It's quite heavy. There was 2 that I left behind that have gone to seed, and because they were all red burgundy over here, I'm going to allow them to go to seed, and maybe that seed I can use next year. Did that before, but I had other varieties growing in the same plot area, and I got a mix of yellow and red onions. And if you want one or the other, it's kind of disappointing, and the kind of bad traits come up with the ones you do want. Okay, time for onion prep. So this is necessary for longevity in storage. You've already seen, if you saw my other video, I prepped some of my yellow onions, and I'll be doing the same with these red ones, these beautiful Chiantis. And I use these, they're kind of like the pipe cutters, general purpose, wide mouth cutters. They work great for drip pipe, drip tape, you know, thin plastics, and of course, onions. So I can chop off that big old stem in one chop, and put the stem in a little can that's going to go in the green waste. I mean, not green waste, in my compost pile. And then I can just snip off these roots really easily. So you get 2 hands, and you can see that is a nice onion, one to be proud of, which I am. Now, these are going to be out about 2 weeks under this shade cloth so they don't get sunburned. With a fan, the noisy fan in the background, sorry about that, is drying them out, the outsides of them. That's what you want. Oops. Threw away one of my baby onions. Didn't mean to do that. It's a little guy, but it could be in a soup or something. I used to just leave the tops on and cut the roots off, and then I would let them dry, cure for a while that way. But I discovered it really doesn't make that much difference as long as you get them cured. And that's the way you're not putting up with the big mess. Because what happens is when they dry out, and you know thin onion skins, how loose they are, and they blow all over. So it makes a big mess. So this way, it makes it a lot cleaner process as they're drying, and it takes up a lot less space. That's some big stalks. Oh wow. That one's big. I wonder if I should weigh that thing before I cut the top off, huh? You know, I think I'm going to do that. I've never weighed any of my onions. I'm going to go grab the digital weigh scale, and we're going to see how heavy some of these biggest ones are. Just for S&G, you know what I mean. I'll be right back. Okay. Let's see how we can do this. Yep, that'll work. Get it to the right units. Or grams, ounces, pounds and ounces, and zero it out. All right. That is 2 pounds, 3.6 ounces. And let's make sure it's got the whole weight of everything. I think that's what you do with these. £2, 4.1 ounces. That's a hefty onion. Let's see this big one here without the top. 1 pound, 10 ounces. Here's another 1 pound, 10.4 ounces. Select another big one, see where we're at. Here's a big one. I don't know how I'm going to get it to all be on the scale though. Maybe if I wrap the top around it. Oh, it changed units. Okay, here we go. £2, 3.2 ounces. So far, we're in the 2 pound plus range. Pretty hard to weigh them with the roots. 1 pound, 15 ounces. So with the tops, they're averaging around 2 pounds. Not too bad. I don't know if there's one particular one that's heavier. This one might be. Just to see where we're at here. 2 pounds, 6 ounces there. Let's see here. £2, 7.3 ounces. That's the heaviest one so far. Of course, that includes a lot of top. There's a lot of top there. So I think that shows us we've done well, and we know that they're pushing 2.5 pounds with their tops. So without the tops, we're talking just under 2 pounds. So that's pretty good. Pretty darn good, because there's a lot of them that are that size. So you can't complain. Ultimately, how do they taste? And I know these taste great. I did grow some last year, but not in under ideal circumstances. They were in my other garden that was kind of shade compromised. And again, you need full sun to get good results with these onions. there's the Chiantis. So I'm going to show you the next step of processing these, and that is we're going to wash these down to get the outer paper layer off and cleaned, so you don't have the bacteria sitting on them when they're drying out, and they should last longer. Although red onions don't last as long as other varieties, so you really need to use them within 3 months if that's possible. Some might squeak by if you have ideal storage conditions to where you can store them with no light and say 40 to 50 degrees. That's perfect, and they'll store longer. But I don't. I have a hot garage. That's the only place I can put them. I can't put them in the house because the whole house will smell like onions. And I don't have air conditioning in the garage, so I have no choice but to put them in there. And what they'll do is they'll start getting soft, and one will rot. And then if you have others up against the one that rots, it'll make them rot too. So you got to be very careful that the ones you put in storage, they have airflow. I put them in a burlap sack once they're cured, and I set them on the floor in the garage and wrapped up. And as I'll take a few out, stick them in our onion bin in the house, and then as I need more, I just come out and grab them. About 2 months, 3 months in, I start looking at them, looking at the bag, see if I see any juicing going on, because they get nasty once they start turning. And you want to make sure that you pull out your good onions if you see something rotting, and get them out of there and put them in something else, or just make sure that you have a clean bag, gunny sack, or something that you're putting them in. You don't want to put them in a sack, like a paper sack, or a box that's enclosed. It needs to breathe. You need the airflow through there. And that goes the same for garlic. I chose to tie the tops of the garlic together and hang mine. I did braid one, if you saw the video on that one. My garlic wasn't as impressive this year. In fact, I got some that were drying right here. These are the first ones I pulled to make sure they were ready, and they were certainly ready. These are cured, and they're ready to store. And I think the onions, the yellow onions I have here, looks like, yeah, they're ready. The roots, stubs are dried out. The top is completely dried out now. There's no green on that. So that's a storable onion. Now this one here, this one has not dried out all the way. It is still hard here, and it should get soft and pliable just to the top of the onion. The roots, they've dried out. Here's another example of another one here, nice golden brown here. This is dried out roots, and notice I can just easily push down the top, and it's just a crunchy, soft texture. So there's another. See, it's soft. So you just got to check them over. There's a great big one here. There's a nice large one there. Roots are well dried out. And yeah, this is all, it's like papery is what it gets to be. Maybe a little stiff, but it's papery. That means that the moisture is dried out of that tip, and where the bacteria, other things can enter the onion is no longer wet, it's dried out. It's less likely for it to rot due to outside influences. So should be good to go on most of those. So now time to process these. Could be controversial to some of you that grow onions, but this works for me, and you're welcome to do whatever you like. So what's nice is what that water blast does is it just takes one layer off of the onion to expose the virgin onion below it. So that way, I know the number one thing I see in stored onions is that under the first layer or so, mold or mildew forms in that space, and that begins the rotting process. So if you can avoid that growth, then they'll last much longer. So this way, there isn't a layer that's been exposed and cracked open to expose for dirt and the atmosphere. So I think this works quite well. It's pretty fast, and it makes for a beautiful onion also, I think. I should mention and give credit that I got this idea from a great channel based in Washington State, and I'll show it up on the screen up here. They have a great channel. They show some great cooking, baking tips, and woodworking, and lots of great gardening tips. And he has world records for growing eggplant and what else was it? Tomato and one other one. So he really knows what he's doing, and he and his son are a tag team on the channel. The son does all the production of it and the narrating, and the dad is the expert and shows you how to do the thing. So it's a really neat channel. So I encourage you to go visit their site and see what they have to offer. So here's what you got. You either have this to store or this. Okay? And notice how, this is all flaking away and it's open and exposed. So while, yes, you do get ones in the store that are similar to this, I guarantee you they've been washed before they're in the store. Now, when these cure, they will form a more papery jacket like you see here, but it'll be intact. So, and they'll be dry. So these have been watered, exposed to the moisture, which that's the biggest problem to create rot and so on, is the moisture that gets in there, and it will just increase the speed of it rotting. But these are wet now, but they'll be dry, just an hour, and they'll be continuing to dry on the outer area and dry off the stem area with the movement of the air with the fan. Okay, those onions are all rinsed and trimmed. They are ready to cure. Those are one pretty batch of onions. Look at them against the backdrop of the yellow. So now we'll spread them out in the back of this trailer, and we'll move on to the red burgundy. All right, now we're on to the red burgundies. These other red onions were Chiantis that I think they're Chianti. No, maybe these were the red burgundy that came off early. They were already bent over. So anyway, on to the wagon full of red burgundy onions. Now I'm only going to process a few of these in front of you because you've seen the process extensively. You know what it's about. So I'll show you the difference in these onions. That's a decent onion, just not as impressive. And I will have a lot of split ones because they tried to go to seed, and that's what they tend to do. And they won't store as long. Just means I gotta eat more onions. I'm not upset about that. You notice I'm not chopping these all the way back to the flat. I'm leaving some space, an inch and a half, because when those dry out, they'll shrink up too. You don't want to get it close to the top of the onion, because that is where the bacteria and things that make it rot enter the onion, and you don't want that. Now here's one I know that went to seed, because you can see this, the hole right into the onion. It's going to rot from the inside out, and that's going to have to be eaten first. how flat that one is. Flat usually means sweet, not always. There are plenty of yellow baseball-shaped onions that are very sweet, the Vidalias, but these flat reds are generally sweeter than your globe-shaped red onions, which you get from the store, in the wintertime when they're out of season. I want you to see the close-up of these roots. These are all the roots that I have trimmed off. They're kind of interesting. I'm sure you could eat them if you wanted to. I don't know if somebody eats onion roots in culture. Never heard of that. They smell like dirty onions because that's what they are. Dirt mixed with roots, but if you cleaned them, I don't know. I'm thinking they'd be very mild, but interesting to see this many roots all together. But they're going in the compost pile. My transportation can is overflowing, so I'm going to have to empty that before I can move forward. So I'm going to say this is a good time to just say goodbye. I hope you found this interesting and instructive, perhaps. And here are the red burgundy onions that I've just finished trimming the tops and the roots, and I'm getting ready to wash them. I had to stand back because they fill the whole tailgate on this trailer, but you can see I got some pretty nice red burgundies here. Nice size. And there's several intermixed that aren't so nice. It's a lot smaller, but still decent. Certainly a usable onion. No really tiny things. There's a few just of these small, but not tiny. But I've got a lot like this that are quite large. And they're going to be really good, really nice. These babies are headed for the compost pile. That's a lot of onion tops. It'll make great compost. Wow, it smells good. Well, it smells good if you like onions.